Tonight's Therapy Thursday is a tribute to one of our villagers. Y'all know I'm from Dominica, originally in the Caribbean. Dominica is not the Dominican Republic. We are an island which is further south. I am doing this today because I know many of us wish that we could gather together in Mo's yard and on her veranda to pay our last respects on that porch where she allowed the least to the greatest to take shelter and to take rescue. And I do mean that literally. I'm speaking of Ma Kabby, I'm speaking of Mo, I'm speaking of Marcelline, I'm speaking of Ma So, as some people also call her. And tonight's session title is Surviving Grief, Memories of Mo, plus what to never say to a relative after someone dies. I invite you to post your memories of Mo in the chat. I invite you to reach out to all of Mo's family and relatives and friends you know who value a word of support. So growing in Cottage, which is the village I was born in Dominica, when someone dies, we gather together. We come together, friends, enemies, relatives, cousins, in-laws, everybody gathers together. Back in the day, there were no funeral homes per se, really. And the burial had to happen fast. The burials happened within 24 really to 72 hours. And the only logical reason you might have to hold the body then was if, say, a relative was coming from overseas and that person who had passed, according to the family, really needed to see that before they were put down, or vice versa, if that person really needed to see their relative before they were buried. We gathered together and we held the wake initially. Yeah, the wake is the time to gather up front. When I say up front, I mean as soon as the thing happens, that night there'd be a wake. Another time to gather, to make the coffin. The carpenters in the village would find a spot in the yard and saw that coffin by hand, put it together. The seamstress in the village would sew the outfit that we were dressing the body with. And we sat together, we cooked, we ate, we drank, we told stories. We shared our favorite things about the loved one that had passed. And we held each other's pain. Everybody, the group, so the one family. And from that first evening, after that person passed, we prayed. We still do. And we prayed then and we pray now because we believe in large measure that life on earth is something temporary. And we're all just pilgrims passing through, going on to somewhere none of us know, but all of us know we have to go. This is a secret to some of us. Yes, all of us have to make that transition. All of us. And we prayed that the Most High granted our relative or loved one or friend or mom safe passage and protection as they moved on to the next phase. We prayed for 9 nights. And actually on the 9th night, which is called 9 night, we just made a word 9 night. On 9 night, ritual was a big deal because after the prayers for the dead were chanted and read and repeated, as a community, as a whole, it became time for a celebration. So the sadness persisted, of course, because you've lost a loved one. But that era of just raw pain and despair and desolation, uh, the terror you felt on day one was a little bit less, because it had given way to the support from the community. And you felt a little bit more hope and a little bit more, okay, I've got to face reality. And so on night, we would sit and tell more stories. Back in those days, we told the Creole conte stories. And or we did Tim Tim, Ashesh riddles in Creole riddles for fun. The drinkers who liked their rum, they drank a little more. And the cooks who liked to cook, they cooked a little more. Those big pots, those big makokot, we call them, with our famous one-pot meals like red beans and dumplings and peas and a meat and or a big broth or a big soup, a big bebele, a hefty pot to feed the whole community. And while kids would be out running around, playing, laughing, playing ring games, playing hide and seek. We called that hoop sewe in the bushes. And it was especially a thing if it was a moonlit night. So today, along with the rest of the community, of Cottage and Tukari and Mont Louis and Penville, Vickers, everybody knew her. We want to offer our deepest condolences to Mr. Kabby. And if you know Mr. Kabby and Mo, you know their relationship. Mr. Kabby, Irene, Ed, Earl, Natasha, Patrick, Eustace, and Anna, almost passing to the other side. And I want to say thank you to them for allowing me to speak about her. And, together, I hope as a community we can pray that God has mercy on her and that she rests in peace. We pray for her soul and the souls of all the people who already departed into that journey, that space, that dimension that all of us have to go to. Pray that all of their souls, through the mercy of God, also rest in peace. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about Mo again, and I want to encourage you to talk about Mo. I call her Mo. Now, I was thinking about it today, Irene, and I decided it must have been Irene that first decided to call Ma Kabby Mo. Mo is a word that means mom, really. And that was whoever of the kids came up with it. Nobody had ever called their mom Mo in the village, okay? So I need to know, Irene, if it was you, because everybody else just, Annette came out calling Macabs Mo, Earl, everybody down to Dio. And the rest of the community, many of us started calling her Mo because she came to represent a mother figure for many people. For me, I call her Mo because she practically adopted me when my mom died, because I met her second daughter and I are like sisters, in friendship. And so Mo had a way of including any and everybody, hmm? Including any and everybody. I was speaking to one of my sisters uh, earlier on in the week and thinking how much of a like a central grounding force she was in the village. So if you know her story, I know a little bit. I mean, she was born in Penville, which is on the other side of Cottage. And there she is, she comes into a new village and she's placed at the central part of the village, La Croix. We call that spot La Croix. There used to be a cross at that part of the village. And there's one, two, essentially three, four. She's at a junction where the buses wait. And so everybody's waiting there for a ride to go to school, to go to Roseau, to go wherever. If you're going to go down to Mont Soleil, in English, that means the hill of the sun. That part of the village, you have to pass Mo's house. If you're going to go Homon, which is where I'm from, which is at the top of the hill, the hilltop, or if you have to go up Cottage and Cushion and Clifton, you've got to pass by Mo's house. And Mo had a veranda, a porch. Imagine the rain starts and you're waiting for the bus. And back then there was no bus stand, no bus shelter. I cannot begin to imagine the number of people who found rescue on that porch. And my sister and I were talking about it. We said, God, I know if it was me, maybe I would have put a gate up a long time ago. I think Mo maybe tried to put up a gate once, right? I don't think that gate lasted. I don't think that gate lasted because that porch of hers was like a haven for the community. Like just a haven. And that says a lot. That says a lot that a person would just leave their space. And her living room was right there. So her private life, her private business was right there. But she was not one to turn you away from her porch. Yeah, she was not one to turn you away from her veranda. She was not one to cast people aside either. Like my experience with her was practically whosoever will may come. I swear people from Roseau, whoever was by that road, they needed to use Mo's bathroom. She just opened that door. She just opened that porch, that veranda. Look, Tizier, so Tizier Nato is Mo's daughter. She says her house was wide open. We used to say the big stove. The big stove is the big stop. Like in baseball, home base. That's what big stove means. So her porch was home base for so many people. And when I say so many people, I'm talking again about from the least to the greatest. From people in the community who, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, we might be calling a certain name because, they're not as fast as other people or they're not as whatever. Yeah, that didn't matter. That didn't matter much to her. And while Mo was very inviting, you could depend on her to tell you the truth. Because Mo wasn't putting water in her mouth. Mo gave me, I think, a feeling of safety when I was around her because she was going to call a spade a spade. You could trust what she was going to tell you. Because, like we said, she would not put water in her mouth to speak. So you knew where you stood with her. She would tell you, even if she would pull you on a little side like this and say, hey, why are you doing that now? I wonder how many lives she saved and how many futures she saved because she was right there at that home base spot, that home base. She saw everything. She saw everything. When somebody's saying that they'll surely miss her when they visit Cottage. She was the first person that person always saw. Absolutely. You broke up the hill. So coming up to Cottage, there's this huge, like steep hill from Tukari all the way up, and you'd hear the trucks and the vehicles come and munch by Ma Kabby. You get a little bit of relief. Lord, your whatever anxiety you were feeling driving up that hill, get a little rest. Yeah, you could take a little rest. You're right, Irene. Up to the last minute, she had a plate for Smiley. So if you all know who Smiley is, when I talk about the least to the greatest, every culture, every society has its hierarchy, so to speak, right? Of who's popular, who is well known, who is whatever. And Smiley would be on the top of the list, right? But Ma Kabby, even to the last, she had a Smiley. TCS said a couple came on a boat in Tukari and they were asking around for a place to eat. Now, back then, there was no place, I bet you, so we didn't have Keeping It Real yet in Tukari. And someone gave them her mom's address, and she cooked for complete strangers that day. They enjoyed the meal, paid her, and left with a smile. That right there is Ma Kabby. That right there is Ma Kabby. From everybody to students to the Peace Corps people, the Peace Corps volunteers who would come down, teachers, Ma Kabby, house wide open. Politics, time of politics, and there's big old meetings. Jawo's going down to Cottage. Whose house they're in? Ma Kabby. She would give her food to the less fortunate. Yes, indeed. She would give her food to less fortunate. She embraced the friends and co-workers of their kids like they were family. So that's what I was saying about why I got to call her Mo. And Joyce, Joyce and Alexis Joseph. You all know, those of you in Portsmouth know Miss Alexis Joseph. So she and I and Annette were like three peas in a pod. Annette is Ma Kabby's daughter. And so we just automatically got to calling her Mo, like as if she was our mom, because that's the feeling you got with her. That's the feeling you got with her. She embraced the friends and co-workers of her kids like they were family. So today, because of that way of hers, I'm like, Irene is my sister. Although Annette was the main friend, Irene is my Earl is my brother, Patrick, my brother Use. I call the man Use, right? Dio is my sister, Nato is my sister. You see what I'm saying? The feeling that you got around her when she opened her heart to you. Somebody said she used to sell ice pops there for a time. Slim Chick Paul says, and you could buy your ice pops there for a time. Yes. Somebody says, I referred to her as Auntie Marcelline or Miss Marcelline because she was married to my dad's uncle and was my community. So that's the other piece of her we'll talk about. Such a warm soul with a lovely smile. I'll definitely miss her. So Mo was also like a rock in the church and did a lot of work to help keep the young people plugged in, to help support the community. You have to have pillars. Not everybody's called a certain role. Everybody's given a gift in life. And she did a lot of that, of the Rock of Gibraltar kind of work in the community. Oh, Irene, I remember this. Irene is saying when Martin had that bike crash, I remember that day with Royston, the house, Ma Kabby's house, was where they put him to wait for a nurse on a bed with all the blood. Yes. So, you have these memories in your head growing up. One of them that was very traumatic for the village. Again, as a village, you feel everybody's pain because, 900 of you in the place and everybody knows everybody. So Martin used to ride a bike, and one day he crashed on that steep hill I was talking about in Tukari. And he got hurt in his head. And we just didn't know what was going to happen. And while we waited for the medical people to come, he was right there on the bed in the house. Romelia says she would welcome us, yes, our youth group, every Christmas season after Carolyn. The final stop would be by Marceau. She does coffee, and we just had fun together. So there's another tradition of Sewinal. Sewinal is where during the Christmas season, you go around from house to house singing carols. And Romelia is saying, well, folks, the youth group would just wait and save the last one for Ma Kabby's house because we knew we were going to get us some coffee. It's the encouragement of young people to do better, to do their best. Encouragement. She would encourage me to sing in church and to not be afraid, to read in church and to not be afraid. It's so valuable when you have other people outside of your immediate family encouraging you to do these things, because your family, you figure, yeah, they must love you. But for other people outside of your family, it's really such a boost. And she played that role. Like she was not afraid to, again, from the least to the greatest, to give you a word of encouragement. Poor Nato. Nato said that was the biggest event of the year for the villagers, where we would have the daybreak session. So Nato, I just have to think, I wonder if you guys as kids, man, we're not sometimes like Mo, Mo is doing too much right now. You know what I'm saying? Like Mo is opening for everybody, right? But also because of that, got to see how to love, and how to love, how to give from that big space. Julie, I remember your friendship. And I think you all are cousins too, huh? Julie says she served on the village council as well. Village council is the local village organization that makes decisions for the village, and you have to run for the election like you do here, and people voted her in, and she served on the village council. You can be nominated. I'm not sure how she got to be on the council, but she also served on the village council. She was also a catechist many years in the church. Catechists teach the Catholic faith. And so she'd prepare kids for communion, that ritual, and for confirmation, for her thing. Etta says Creole was her thing. Absolutely. So Ma Kabby was always Creole before Creole was cool, all right? Especially because she was born in Penville, where Creole is like fluent, right? Fluent, and the impact of saying something in Creole versus English. That was her thing. So she can hash a Creole. I think about her too as a protector, like she was very protective. If she was on your side, she was on your side, honey. And nobody was going to be messing around with you, because they said she did not put water in her mouth to talk. Okay? She was very direct when she needed to be. Creole was all our first language. Nato said that Creole was their first language in the house because their mom spoke it so frequently and fluently. She learned English at school and from her siblings with an LOL. Yes, 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 yes. So I have a few more comments here from people and their memories of her. And I want to read a few to you as I pull it up. Yeah, one of my friends, she goes by Lunatic. She's very creative with her Facebook names. I'm not going to put her on blast and say who she is, but you all know who Lunatic is. Lunatic was reminding me that she and I would be on Ma Kabby's porch often, just talking. I mean, we would sit and talk for hours on the ladies' porch, like like who lets you do that right now, right? Who lets you do that right now? To Carbon, Miss Carbon from Capuchin says, Ma Kabby will be greatly missed by her immediate family and also the entire village. Our parish has lost a faithful soul. Rest in peace, Mo. So I know that she and my sister, Mo and my sister Martha, they used to their little vibe, their little spree was midnight mass in Portsmouth. So I know Jacqueline's gonna miss that with her. Tizia said, in life she was loved, and in death she's also loved. Absolutely. Mummy lived for the Lord and died in the arms peacefully. Now I understand the meaning of a peaceful death. May your beautiful, sweet soul continue to sleep in peace. Margs, blah. Oh, yes, she was such a sweet and caring person. Always had something nice to say. We are so saddened. Kenty was a boy. Kenty is my older brother. He can't stop talking about her. May her sweet soul sleep and relax in the arms of the Almighty. Okay, I'm going to stop reading them now. Claudette is saying that she's also a member of St. Vincent de Paul Society and cares for the elderly, right? So just like this of the earth, and not just talking about do this, do that, but herself making the commitment, following through, and actually doing and sharing of herself and offering of herself, to the community. And I think about it, think you leave your own community, because remember, she was not born in Cottage. She came in, and as an outside, you have to come and basically create your space, find your niche, create a safe zone for yourself. And she did that so well. Gertrude Azil says, my condolences to the entire family. In peace, my cat. Gertrude, how are you? Inomi Isaac says, condolences to her family. May her soul rest in peace, my dear friend. Lunatic is going over some of the memories, and she can remember, she can imagine Mo saying, Barb's, how is our girl? Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, I know there are many people again who wish they could see her and be with her as we send her off to, again, whatever dimension it is we all go to after we finish what we're supposed to do here. Tizier Nato says, Jacqueline will miss her endlessly. She and Jacqueline worked hard for the church. Every week she had a story about Jacqueline and church vibes. Mawos, which is her nickname for Nato. Jacqueline and I are going for a meeting or praying born. We have a meeting. I have to read. Jacqueline, that doesn't finish, right, Nato? Yes, yes, yes. So, after you raise your kids, you give birth to your kids, you raise your family, Um, many women find other ways to contribute. And I think she's a wonderful model of that. She was very devoted. I bet you guys, most days when you came home, she had your lunch or your little afternoon waiting for you. And after that time of life ended, all of that creative energy in her, she really just distributed it to the church, to the younger people, to the community. And yeah, that's a wonderful thing. So, Jenna, hi Jenna, how are you? Jenna Vital says she was that bold voice next door, and he's gonna miss it. So she had there was such power in that woman, such life force and energy in her voice, and I think that has something to do with how much of an impact, how far that energy spread and it reached. Um, I think that's part of why I'm feeling the call and you're feeling the call with me to do this for her tonight. Yeah, Tizia says lunch was always on time. Always on time, always cooking. Man. And the few times Cabs tried to cook for himself. Man. Yeah, that's right. So, again, for me, my heart, she opened her heart to me, when my mom died. And so that for me means a lot. Open her heart, open her home. She wouldn't say much like to me in my face, but sometimes she would, like, like, yeah, I know it must be hard for you. I know it must be a hard time for you. Which leads me into the part, like the second part I want to talk about. Some things to never say to a relative after someone passes. So you'll see, I'm drinking a lot of water. And when you're grieving, when you're sad, what's a good thing? Okay, people? Yeah, some things to never say when somebody is grieving or just lost somebody they love. One of the worst things I think about grief is, besides being a mother trucker, it's how grief makes you feel, because it puts you in a state where you don't have words to describe the feeling. So you're feeling alone, you're feeling isolated, you're feeling afraid, you're feeling angry, you're feeling scared, you're feeling damaged even. You're feeling lost, like, what am I going to do without this person? And who am I now if that person is not here? What do I do with that empty space from what they used to, that life force of theirs, that what they used to offer to me in my life? Will I be able to remember my mom's face? What if I forget her smell? Or why are these people there laughing? What's there to laugh about? Don't they see how much I'm hurting? And as time starts to go on, it starts to feel like everybody and life, the rest of life, is moving on, but you're stuck, like you're still kind of frozen in that place. You're like, leaving me behind. What's happening here? And I'm afraid my pain, this kind of pain I feel, will never go away. Most of you, by now, if you've been listening to me, you know how suddenly I lost my mom. And there were many days during the grieving process when you're faced with all of these emotions, it feels like it's just too much, and that it would be easier just to find a way not feel it, right? Find a way to not feel it. I remember many people rushing in to help me, and a lot of them had words of advice, which I think was well intentioned. But some of it was I could have done without it. Some of the advice I could have done without it. I think we like to say that people don't know what to say when somebody's grieving, so they're doing the best they can. I agree to some extent, um, but I am saying it's time to learn what to say, what not to say, definitely what not to say. Okay? And when we know better, we do better. I think some of the things we say that end up being hurtful or painful unintentionally to people who are grieving, it comes from our place of fear, our own place of anxiety. You know why? As much as we know we all have to die, I think we're all living our lives terrified of death. Tell me if I'm lying. Many of us, not most of us, are living life terrified of death. I believe that there's a part of other human beings that goes when they see somebody else die. Wow, man, that's sad. But at least that's not me. I get one more day. At least I'm still around. At least I still have my mom. At least I still have my dad. Wow, I really feel bad for them. But, whew, thank God. And so there's a part of us when we're dealing with watching the people of, they're our friends, and some of them are our relatives or co-workers. There's a part of us when we're watching them suffer that's like, oh, I can't take it. It's so hard. I want it to stop. I want them to stop hurting so I can stop hurting watching them hurt. And so we come up with these phrases, and some of these I'm asking you to NEVER, say it again. Don't say it. Number one, oh, it was God's plan. Who told you that? Did God speak to you and tell you it was plan? Like, how do you know? And why are you sharing it with me? If that was his plan, I want nothing to do with him and his plans. Number two, everything happens for a reason. Let me come to that myself. Don't come to me with that everything happens for a reason business. Especially when this loss is just fresh. What do you mean? You want me to think about the reason why this happened? Like already? Like, give me a break. And please trust me, I'll find it. If there's a reason, let me find it on my own. Don't come to me with everything happens for a reason. Because whatever reason that is, I don't want to hear it. And I don't want it. I want any but reason to be true after I've lost a loved one. Number three, she or he, she's not in pain anymore. If it's your mom, you're like, you know what? I'll find a way to help ease her pain. I don't want to hear this business about she's not in pain anymore. And who said she was in pain anyway? What kind of pain? Are you in pain? You're alive. Are you in pain? What do you mean? She doesn't have to pay bills anymore. It's okay. I'll pay bills, but I need her here. Here's another one. She's in a better place. A better place? What could be better for her than being here with me? What do you mean a better place? We're not yet ready so soon to come to those conclusions. So please chuck that. Like if your mouth, your tongue wants to run away with your mouth and say these things, just bite your tongue. No. She's not in a better place because you don't know. Leave that alone. Let the grieving person come to that, whatever it is. You want to know the worst one? The worst one is when the people around us, the funeral is over, they've gone back to their homes or to their regular lives, and they think we should be over it. And they say, you need to get over it, you need to get yourself together. You need to move on with life. Please, 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 please don't do that. That's actually re-traumatizing a person. Please don't tell him when it's time to move on, how it's time for them to move on. Why? Because everybody grieves at their own pace. And there's no prescription for grieving. There's no manual. Okay, on this, from this Friday to this Friday, this is what you do, and your grief will go away. Mm-mm. You could be twins, and each of you will have your own grieving process. So please, please, please don't tell people when it's time for them to stop grieving. Number one, that's not your place. Like, who made that rule, and who made you, the jury of grieving and healing? No, 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 no. Okay? Here's what you can do instead. Now, this one might take, it's not one, it's a few. It might take a little bit more time, and it might take a little bit more of what used to happen in small villages like ours back in the day. And I hope that we remember to do in whatever village we find ourselves in now. It could be the village of Atlanta with your friend in your friend's office, a coworker. When they're talking about a loved one, you want to know what to do? Get curious. Ask them, you know what? Tell me more about your mom. This is so interesting. I want to hear more. Here's what else you can do. Sit with them on the phone, in an email, physically sit, on Facebook, sit, on FaceTime, on WhatsApp. If you haven't seen their face, call them up. Call them up and just be there. It's not about you. You're just offering yourself. You're just being there, because that is what a grieving person needs the most. I remember this. I will always remember this. When my mom died, the experience that was the most healing for my heart, and I'm so grateful for it, was Joycelyn. The day I found out, Miss Alexis Joseph, she took me from the school and brought me to the sanctuary of the Catholic Church because it was quiet and peaceful there. And you want to know what she did? She just let me rest my head on her lap and let me bawl for 2 hours straight. I swear, 2 hours straight. Her hand was on my back, on my head. She was probably praying. She was probably singing. I don't even know what she's doing. All I know is I felt safe to grieve. She didn't have to say a word to me. She didn't have to say a word to me. I remember other people like Joan Dinard. They would just be around. They just kind of hover a little bit more. I didn't say a word. They'd just hover. They would just stay close. That is what you offer a person who's grieving. There's time enough for a person to process cognitively and mentally. There's time enough for them to process their loss. They will come to terms with it. It's not your play because you're uncomfortable or you feel it's fear-based. And I think that's why we try to ease our anxiety by saying these things. No, 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 no. Just come up to the person, just hold their hand, squeeze their hand. They know what you're doing. Instead of telling them, stop crying, don't cry, be strong. Why do you want me to be strong when my mother just died? What do I have to be strong about? Why do I have to be strong? Strong for whom? And for what? What is the point of being strong? What does that mean, strong? You mean don't cry? Because when I cry, I might upset you, or you might feel anxiety. You might feel upset if I cry. No. do is you just be. What you do is you just be. So everybody under the sound of my voice that's been a friend to Mo, Irene, Annette, April, Patrick, Nato, Youth, Dial, call them up or send them a little text. That's all. I'm thinking about you. I love you. I got you. That's how you help people who are grieving. Don't go with the shenanigans about she's in a better place. She's not whatever anymore. That's not your place. It's not going to help. And sometimes what happens to the person who's grieving is they feel something weird with this, but they just don't know. They can't necessarily put their finger on it. Okay? They can't necessarily put their finger on it. It just doesn't feel good. I mean, I remember wanting to hit people when they would tell me stuff like, it's going to be okay. You know about that. It's going to be okay when? And who said it's going to be okay? I don't think it's going to be okay. It's going to be hell. And it was hell. Instead, what you do is, I got you. Give them a hug. Give them a pat on the back. Rub their head. Send them a text. I was thinking about you this morning. You good? You need anything? I got you. That's it. Okay? When they start telling you crying won't bring them back, look, that person deserves what I would say almost sal. Almost sal, oui? Moun sa besoin. Si ka di yo crying won't bring them back. If already you telling me crying won't bring them back, almost sal besoin. You understand me? So no. Relatives and the people who love us, they think they're doing something good with that, but it is very destructive. It's not good. It does not help. Okay? No matter the reason, we want our parents alive. Them alive. So no, the idea that, oh, they're not in pain, they're not sick anymore. Man, leave me alone with this. Okay? So what I'm saying is, as the community that holds, as the group that holds the one family at that time of grief, just there. What do you need? What can I support you with? How's everything? How are you feeling today? Yeah, and just listen. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything. Lunatic says, there's so much to say about Marcel. I can't write without tears. Yeah, I understand. So grieving is a personal, individual process. Even all the siblings, the husband, the wife, the spouse, everybody's process is going to be different. And there's no judgment on that, okay? There's no judgment. There are stages of grieving. But even those stages of grieving, they flip around. After you think you're done with, accepting the death, you see something 5 years, 10 years from now, and you're on the floor, bawling like a baby again. So we just have to be patient, I feel, with each other, and loving and gentle and supportive and kind. So instead of telling people, it's okay, and move on, let it go, instead just walk with your friend, walk with your relative, walk with your coworker, sit with them. Just help them get through that moment of grief that sometimes in your body feels literally like you're going to die, literally like your body can't stand it anymore. Okay? So we cannot move on from the people we love who pass. You can never move on because we loved them and they loved us. And love is eternal. So love never dies. In fact, love grows more. love grows more and more. So that love for your mom, that love for your loved one, child, those people who've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. That love doesn't go anywhere, and you will over time find ways to work with that love. Yeah. So for me, something I did with the love I feel for my mom is I gave my daughter a middle name that would remind me of her and that would give me an ongoing opportunity to tell her stories about her grandmother she's never met. You know, I use my story of that grief to talk about it now from a place of really understanding how devastating it is. And I use her story, I hope, to help other people heal, and maybe understand the reality that death is not a thing to be afraid of. I think after you've lost someone close to you, start and you get through that process. When you get through to the other side, many people can get an understanding that, you know what, based on the fact that you've been able to keep that love and that what you used to be afraid of, as in, I'll forget them. Oh my God, I won't remember the feeling. The thing is that feeling still stays. And so now hey, it doesn't go away. It doesn't leave. She never really left me. She left me in physical form. But there's a part of her that I can hold and connect to that is as vibrant and as strong as her in the physical form. And yes, there are days and nights where I long for smell, for I long for the opportunity to put my head on her lap and smell her skin, But I will use what I can hold on to that. So the secret is out. Yes, we are all going to die. That includes you and me. There's no escape. There's no escape. But there is time to plan and prepare, to decide, well, how do I want to be remembered? Look at how we're remembering Mo tonight. This doesn't just happen. This happens because a person lives their life in such a way that it impacts, it spreads, love you have inside of you, give it out. Yeah, create joy and create purpose. She created joy for that couple who visited and were like for somebody to eat, somewhere to eat. She just cooked the food. Yeah, creative enough to decide, you know what, let me do this for them. Who will tell your story? Who do you want to tell your story? And what will they say about you when this inevitable transition happens? So I think what I want to pray for all of us is that the people who love us, I pray that the people who love us in life, when we pass, I pray that they never ever move on from us. I pray they talk about us and they multiply our love on the planet based on their memories of us. So that's my invitation to you tonight. Whatever it is you're doing, decide if it's worth them talking about you and their love for you and those things once you transition to the other dimension or dimensions, wherever it is we go. So yeah, this is some of what I want to say about death and about surviving grief, because it is a surviving thing. Some people don't survive grief. Some people, the pain is too much, and so they try to end it. But for me, that's a soul's choice. That's a personal choice. There are other ways to survive grief. right? Instead of like just checking out or disconnecting from life. What I found is that if you move through it, you feel all of it, you face all of it, you come at a certain point to the other side where you can look and actually feel some kind of gratitude, you know? Just know that it takes time and and trust and patience. And it takes support. Again, it takes support, which is why I'm inviting all of your friends, all of your relatives to just be there. Okay? You don't have to do anything, just be here. And just to hold you all the way that Mo held so many people. Yeah? The way that Mo held so many people. So, Jose, your cousin, guys, is saying he just wants you all to know, he just wants to let his cousins that he's always thinking of them and that he's sending love and prayers to them and Uncle Kabby. He's so sorry he can't be there in person. Treated my brothers and I like her own. Yes. And growing up in the village, I understand. Yeah. Bo, twin. Bo is Joseph's brother. I call Bo my twin because we were born on the same day. Yes, Ma Kabby was like her mom to Bo and David and Jose. So, yeah, we can't be on Mo's porch tonight, but we're doing it virtually, okay? And I'm so thankful to all of you for showing up. And again, I just want to encourage you to don't let the fact that we're not together physically be a stumbling block to you doing the support that we know. And for generations, we've used that kind of support to help each other heal from grief, you know? So we can do it like this. We can do it text. We can do it FaceTime. So find your way. All right, y'all. So, bonsoir, tout le monde. I pray again for Mo and the rest of the faithful departed that through the mercy of God, they may all rest in peace. Hope you have a peaceful night. Take it easy. Bye.